Hello, agents. Hello, everyone. Fixed index annuities or index annuities is probably the most popular topic in the annuity world right now, but they used to be called equity index annuities or EIAs, not FIAs or fixed index annuities as today. And honestly, when they were called equity index annuities, they looked more like fixed annuities and they looked like they were more geared towards the risk adverse client than today's fixed annuities do. The equities look better than the fixed. And I'm going to go through a few reasons and tell you why. But overall, the people that sold these were life insurance agents that wanted to offer their risk adverse clients a simple, safe, and understandable way to maybe increase yield and get some tax deferral. So let's go through this. And if you're a licensed life insurance agent and you're thinking about bringing them on, this will be great for you because I'm going to show you very traditional, very simple ways of client-oriented fixed annuities and what they should look like, what they used to look like, and what they can still look like in certain situations. So first, we're going to talk about the main thing. So these are fixed indexed annuities. Why the original crediting methods still appeal to the risk adverse saver, right? Number one is simplicity. What makes a product simple? Well, I like the annual reset crediting method. As you can see, every time you have the annual reset crediting method, every time there's a gain, it gets locked in. So you reset the market every year and you lock in the gains, as you see here on this graph. They like 100% participation rate. The clients don't want to start having to do averaging and math and not be able to figure stuff out. So no averaging, no spreads. The less moving parts, the least moving parts, the better. No fees. I don't even know why anyone would put a fee in a fixed annuity. I don't know why any state insurance commissioner would approve it. All can be done internally through actuarial pricing, but it doesn't have as much sizzle that way. And a documented renewal history of those caps and renewal rates of your FIA, your fixed index annuity, extremely important because once you buy one of these, you want to know what's going to happen. Are you cap 9 going to become 6 in year 2? Don't want that. That's very bad. And the main reason these clients got into these is they like looking at the MYGA rates that might not have been so good. They're like, hey, we want to do a little bit better than these MYGA rates right now. So do you have an option for that? And that's the fixed indexed annuity where you won't lose principal, but you can maybe do better than the fixed MYGA rates or a fixed bank rate, right? So that's the idea behind the FIA, the original reasons why people will get into them. So let's go through my favorite crediting method. This is the annual reset, annual lock-in. Simple, easy. Let's go through it real quick and I'll show you why people love it. Fixed indexed annuities are sold by life insurance licensed producers. You do not need a securities license, any of that nonsense. You don't have to go through a broker dealer. That's all baloney. None of that is any part of the licensing or part of the rules, laws, or anything like that. So let's take a look at this as a sample I just created out of my head. Okay. I took about what the S&P was starting at yesterday, which was 5260, and say, let's look at a 10-year product and see what happens. So after the first year, I said, hey, I went to 5,900. It was up. So, and we're just going to say the person put $1,000 in just so, and the reason I did that is so we can all get us on the same graph. Otherwise 100,000, we'd have a giant graph, right? So let's just say it was $1,000. You know, you can add 3 zeros to this if you wanted to make it 100,000, whatever. But yeah, so after year one, the S&P went from 5260 to 5,900. The client earned their gain and they now have a 12% cap. Oh yeah, this is assuming 100% participation with a 12% cap for the whole 10 years. So they made their 12% cap because that was more than 12% gain. So they now up to $1,120. So the next year it was up again. So now they're up to $1,254. It's down the next year. As you see, the S&P went from 6,800 to 6,150. Here you see the decline. However, as you see, the client's accumulation value stayed the same. It annually reset. It locked in your gains. And now in this year, going to the year 4, you're starting the S&P now at 6,150. So you didn't lose any money. You stayed equal at your 1254, but you start the S&P at 61. So the next year it goes from 6,150 to 6,400. Client made another gain. Now they're up to $1,305. The next year it's up again. Went from 64 to 78. They capped out again. Now they're up to 1,462. The next year, look, it's down again. The S&P went from 7,800 to 7,150. But notice the accumulation value, 1462, because you participate in all the ups, you earn 0 in the down, and then you reset the S&P now at the 7,150. Next year, it's back to 7,700, not even as high as it was in year 5, but the client picked up another gain now at 1,574. up again 16, up again 18, and the final year it's down, but you didn't lose anything. It went from 9,000 to 8,700, but the client's actual return is now 1838, still 1838. Annual reset, annual lock-in. That's why we like it. So in this situation, well, this shouldn't have popped up first. Let's back up. In this situation, the 6,200 S&P where it started, the 5260 grew to 8,700. That's a set. Let's go over here so you can see what I'm doing. 5260 grew to every 8,700. It equals a 65.4% change. So the $1,000 deposit grew to 1,838, an 83.8% change. Now, these are my numbers, but as you can see, in this particular situation, if it would have happened this way, the client with the indexed annuity would actually have outperformed the actual S&P 500. Now, again, if there's no 30% years here, there's, none of that. So it's highly skewed towards the index because I'm just trying to make an example here. But in this situation, you can see where the index, because none of the down years perform better than the actual S&P, so 500 that we were looking at. So that's the strength. That's the huge strength of an indexed annuity, where you can participate, lock in your gains, but still participate. Yeah, you're not going to catch the 30 years, but you might get 9 or up to 12, depending on your cap on those years. And when you don't lose anything, when you blend all that year, not average, actual returns, you're seeing very good comparison, or only a few percentage difference in the actual S&P to the index. So that's why indexes are great. I use them all the time for people who don't want a fixed return. So how does this compare? By the way, you can go to my annuity expert site, and if you click on this FIA, it'll pull up percentage change or FIA calculator, and you go ahead and you can enter the amount. So what I did is, like, the first year was 52, the second year was 59. You click on that calculator, it tells you the percentage change. It was 12.7. This had a 12% cap. So, they capped out that year. So that's really great. And that's why I want to focus on telling you that it's simple. Anybody who buys one of these annual reset, annual lock-ins, they can just go to any of the websites that show the S&P for that day, whether it's Yahoo Finance, CNN Business, whatever it is. You can go to one of these, any website, and say, what's the S&P today? And type that into the second bar, type what you'll get in your contract. You'll know your initial, and you'll know at any part of the year where you are too. So like right now, I know the S&P for like my ultimate challenge was at 58. Now it's down. So it's at 0 for the year. So it's an easy way to calculate. So that's another way. You can't do this if it's averaging and spreads. How can you do that? You'd need a extremely crazy calculator, and most people aren't really going to figure that out. So here's how I figured out the $1,800 was the end result. They earned so the equivalent gain in that S&P in my example would have been a 6.2% interest rate needed for that 10 years for that 1,000 to grow to 1,800 anywhere else. So that's like a good example of, let's say the fixed rate's 5.5, this got 6.28. So in this situation, the person who wanted to do better in fixed rates did better than fixed rates. So that's the whole idea behind why the FIA was originally created. Now it's been perverted into more of a, bonus, roll up, fees, and all this, and hypotheticals. So that's where the securities industry came in and kind of messed it up. So if you're a life insurance licensed agent and you want to sell this type of design, it's not really that difficult. I just went through basically the whole entire thing. There's no other moving parts. 100% participation. We get up to the cap, reset each year. That's it. And some of these products now have the cap that's guaranteed. So for this one, you could maybe get a cap guaranteed for 7 years, and you really know. Otherwise, you really want to look at those histories and make sure they do not reduce. My microphone keeps turning around. I hope it's not messing up the way I sound. Anyway, yeah, so that's how that works. Anyway, I think that's the end. I hope you all get the idea of why these traditional indexed annuities are so great and can be used in your life insurance business. Not if you're trying to double your money in a year. This is not an indexed annuity. Index is for someone who wants to get out, doesn't want market risk, but still wants to participate and maybe do better than fixed rates. Very simple, the same way it's been since 94, 3, whenever they came out. So X, YouTube, LinkedIn, all that good stuff for the most up-to-date information. No fees, just insurance guarantees, folks. Thanks for watching. Hope you're all having a great week. Take care. Bye-bye.